Chapter 9, UA Sport Festival. After a month of intense training from every UA student, it was time for the sports festival. Everyone has been excited to see what this year's batch is made of, and most people wanted to know who this student was who was training like they were fighting in an apocalypse. The security 𝓢𝓐𝓡, May, and 𝓢𝓨𝓜𝓑𝓞𝓛 created and built was fully operational, and there were a large number of pros who were attending to help with security and to scout any new students for the internships. For those who don't know, the main purpose of the sports festival was for students to show off their skills to grab the attention of pros so they could get invitations to intern under them. The sports festival is broadcast live in Japan and the entire world to witness the future pros to hit society. Currently, Class 1A was in the waiting room to prepare for the opening ceremony of the sports festival, and they were trying to psych each other up. 𝓎𝓈. Oh man, this is really happening. 𝓎𝓕. I know, bro, this is gonna be insane. 𝓎𝓈 and 𝓎𝓕 were having a bro talk trying to psych each other up, but were quickly interrupted by Todoroki approaching 𝓢𝓐𝓡, who was sitting on a chair with his arms crossed and eyes closed. 𝓢𝓐𝓡 could feel someone approaching him, so he opened one eye and was met by Todoroki standing in front of him. Todoroki. Midoriya on power alone. I believe you are the strongest, but mark my words. I will win this festival and claim that title. After hearing that, 𝓢𝓐𝓡 fully sat straight and looked Todoroki right in the eyes. 𝓢𝓐𝓡. Todoroki, the only way you are going to beat me is if you use your full power, not half of it. Todoroki felt angered by those words but kept his mouth shut. 𝓢𝓐𝓡. Only using half of your power is an insult to your opponent. You're basically telling them that they're not worth your time, so I would advise you not to hold back. He then turns to the rest of the class. 𝓢𝓐𝓡. That includes all of you here. When fighting someone, always honor them by going all out because it shows that you consider them a worthy opponent. He then stands up and turns back to Todoroki and looks him right in the eyes. 𝓢𝓐𝓡. So Todoroki, I'll tell you once. If you only use half your strength, I won't bother even using my full strength. 𝓢𝓐𝓡 finishes that statement while walking out the door, as they announce the first years to come on out. Present Mike. Hello, you sports fans. I'm Present Mike, and the announcer for this year's sports festival. And my partner here is the 𝓢𝓐𝓡10, coming to you live from the comforts of his own sleeping bag. Today we have a special event that's gonna blow your socks off and make you wish you had extra. That's right, it's the first year's sports festival. Present Mike shouts over at the announcer booth, making everyone go crazy, cheering for the sports festival. Present Mike. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hereby introduce the first years, but we have a special bunch that starred death in the face and still made it out alive. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to the two classes that survived the USJ attack, Class 1A and 1B from the Hero course. When the announcement was made, Class 1A and 1B exited the tunnels and were met by loud cheering and camera flashes. Some of the class were either nervous because of the extra attention or living in the moment. 𝓢𝓐𝓡 was more annoyed that Present Mike announced them like that, but anyway they made it to the grass field and lined up while Present Mike called on the rest of the classes. Present Mike. Now for the Department of General Education and Department of Support course. When those students came out, they didn't get as much cheers as the Hero course students, which pissed some of them off, especially the purple-haired kid with the eye bags. They eventually make it to the grass field and line up. Present Mike. Now for this year's chief referee for the freshman stage of the sports festival is the R-rated hero, our very own Midnight. Midnight made her way to the stage, wearing her costume that leaves nothing to the imagination. So some of the audience were making comments that did not sit well with 𝓢𝓐𝓡. Random number 1. Man, Midnight is so hot. Random number 2. Yeah man, look at the figure. Random number 3. And the way she moves her high dash. The random observer got cut off by feeling an intense bloodlust coming from 𝓢𝓐𝓡. He subconsciously activated fearful presence and was making it hard for everyone to breathe. Even the top pros that are in attendance find it hard to breathe, but it was quickly cut off when 𝓢𝓐𝓡 realized what he was doing, making it easier to breathe again. Midnight composed herself until she could talk again. Midnight. Well, moving on from that, I would like to call 𝓢𝓐𝓡 to the stage as this year's player representative. Izuku slowly made his way beside Midnight, but before he could stand in front of the mic, Midnight whispered something. Midnight, whisper thanks for that, Izuku. Izuku, whispering no need to thank me. Namuri. Izuku was now standing there, looking the crowd over, seeing many faces that he recognized from either the news or the Hero Network, but one person in particular caught his eye. It was a woman that had long purple hair with pink strips that was tied in a ponytail, 2 shoulder-length strands of hair framing her face. She had purple eyes with dark blue-colored angled eyebrows. She wore a purple sleeveless dress that hugged her curvy body with gold piping around the hem, white zip-up boots with black lines on the front, extending to the bottoms and heels, and a metallic utility belt in which she stored her bullets. Imagine she had longer hair that's tied in a ponytail. Izuku. If I remember correctly, that woman Kana Tsutsumi, or better known as Lady Nagant, after she graduated, she immediately started gaining traction and started rising up in the ranks. She's currently ranked number 11 in the hero rankings, and she's currently 23, making her the second youngest hero to ever live. The first is Hawks, who's 22 and currently ranked number 3, but the concerning part about this is that she works for the commission, which is a problem. From the stands, Nagant caught him staring at her. Kana. He's been staring at me for quite some time now, and how did he even see me from up here? Inside a booth that's overlooking the entire stadium. We see Nizu sitting in a comfortable chair with Inko sitting next to him along with the rest of the UA staff. Inko, oh, my baby. I'm so proud. Nizu, I'm proud as well. He's certainly prepared for this, though I should have warned him about the speech that comes from being the representative. But I'm sure he'll be fine. While Inko and Nizu are talking, Yagi is looking at Izuku with hatred in his eyes. Yagi, you're about to meet your end. Kid, just you wait. Yagi's thoughts were interrupted by the door to the booth opening to reveal Mitsuki and Masaru Bakugo. Entering. Mitsuki, sorry to interrupt, but we're looking for Toshinori Yagi. This caught everyone off guard. How did they know Yagi? Well, to answer that question, the person that made a deal with the Bakugos was none other than Toshinori Yagi, aka the symbol of peace, All Might. He sent in lawyers under the impression that they worked for the commission, but in actuality, it was All Might's lawyers that bailed Katsuki out on the agreement that he becomes All Might's successor. The family already knew about One for All. Yagi stood up to greet them. Yagi, Mitsuki, Masaru, it's so nice that you made it. I've already prepared seats for you here, so come sit. Mitsuki. Thank you. What is she doing here? Mitsuki asked while looking at Inko with a disgusted look, Inko also having the same face. Nizu. Do you perhaps know each other? Inko. Yeah, we used to be friends, but after Izuku was diagnosed as quirkless, things started falling apart. Nizu. I see. And to answer your question, Mrs. Bako, Mrs. Midoriya here is a staff member at this school. Do you have a problem with that? Nizu asked with a very calm face, but you could tell that he wasn't pleased with their presence. Mitsuki, through gritted teeth, answered while going to sit down. Mitsuki, no problem at all. The air in there was tense. Somewhere in an abandoned warehouse. Sensei, you've grown so big, son. I can't wait to see how you do, said a large man in a suit that was hooked up to medical equipment. Somewhere in a bar. Shigaraki. You, said the blue-haired man-child. In a building at the center of Tokyo. President. So this must be the kid. But the real question is, what exactly is your quirk? Izuku Midoriya? Said a woman with blonde hair who's watching her monitor that's currently broadcasting the sports festival. Cut to Izuku. Midnight. Midoriya, care to give us a speech to inspire your competitors? She said while handing him the microphone, which he gladly took. He then cleared his throat and, Izuku. Greetings, fellow students and people at the stands. All I want to say is that the world isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. How you fight today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered. This is your opportunity to rise from these ashes and grab glory. In this life, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody but yourself. And after what you might have gone through, if you haven't done that by now, It ain't gonna never happen, going in one more round when you don't think you can. That's what makes all the difference in life, so let's show the world what we're made of, let's go beyond. 𝓢𝓐𝓡𝓣10 plus ultra. After that speech, 𝓢𝓐 walked back to the other students while the crowd was going ballistic. Random number 4. Man, that kid knows how to make a speech. Random number 5. No, kidding. I'm pumped up. Midnight. That was an excellent speech, 𝓢𝓚. But let's move on to the first event of the sports festival. Please set your eyes on the wheel of events. On the Jumbotron, it showed a wheel that was spinning with different events on it until it slowed down and stopped on midnight. An obstacle race. This event will be a race that's nearly 4 kilometers long, and throughout the race, there will be obstacles laid out. The first 42 students will move on to the next event. The rules are simple. Stay on the track and don't directly harm your fellow students, or you will be expelled. So please, why don't you kiddies go to the far side tunnel and wait for the signal to go? Everyone quickly made their way to the tunnel, which was really narrow. 𝓢𝓐 was at the back doing some stretches until he was approached by someone. Hey Zuzu, you ready to race to the top? 𝓢𝓐 then turned to her. 𝓢𝓐, honestly, I'm not even sure if I should just teleport to the end or actually to the race. May took a thinking position until she had an idea. Why don't you use that werewolf form for the race? You'd look really cool and grab the attention of the audience. 𝓢𝓐 thought about it for a second until he answered. 𝓢𝓐, why not? I could give you a ride. You do that? 𝓢𝓐, yeah, why wouldn't I? May tackled him in a hug. Thank you. I always wanted to ride you when you came in that form. 𝓢𝓐 patted May's head, making her blush a bit. 𝓢𝓐, don't worry. I'll let you ride me anytime you want. You just have to ask. They were interrupted by Midnight announcing the start of the race. Midnight, are you ready? All of the students got into different positions. 𝓢𝓐, May back up a bit. 𝓢𝓐 said, as white smoke started to appear and his gym clothes started turning white. He made them out of his hair with matter creation so they could transform and stretch with him. Midnight, get set. The white smoke completely covered 𝓢𝓐, and the sound of bones snapping and some grunts could be heard, which caught the attention of some of the students and the audience. Kana, what is he doing? From the smoke. 𝓢𝓐, May, jump on. She jumped without a second thought. Midnight, go. Every student made their way through the tunnel but was quickly stuck between each other because of the narrow tunnel. Present mic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the very first challenge. Getting through the tunnel. The students start to get uncomfortable because of the close proximity with each other. Random student number 1. Hey, watch it. Random student number 2. Who's the wish guy that's touching my butt? Random student number 3. Would you let go of me? They were busy complaining until Todoroki decided to freeze their feet to the ground, making them all stumble a bit while Todoroki made his way outside of the tunnel. Todoroki. Sorry, but I have to win this. Present mic. And there you have it, folks. Todoroki quickly takes the lead by freezing everyone in place, and it looks like some of them are already making their way out. Todoroki looks back to the tunnel to see that most of the students, who are mostly his classmates, are already free. Bakugo, you'll pay for that half and half. Kirishima, not very manly, Todoroki. Mineta, it's not time yet to use my ultimate move. Todoroki continued running while saying, Todoroki, of course you guys will make it out. Just when Todoroki was about to move on, a white blur with a trail of smoke that was rocketing from wall to wall came shooting out of the tunnel, when suddenly a mighty howl came ripping through the entire stadium, and the atmosphere changed drastically. 𝓢𝓐. www. This white blur burst out of the smoke to reveal 𝓢𝓐 in his perfected dire wolf form with May riding on top of his back while laughing like a madwoman. May, ha 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 ha. This is awesome. 𝓢𝓐. I know, but hold on tight. 𝓢𝓐 lands on all fours and shoots forward. Present mic. And it looks like 𝓢𝓐 Midoriya takes the lead with Mei on top, riding him like a war beast. Many of the crowd were in awe of the transformation, and some were trying not to kneel for some reason that they know nothing about. 𝓎𝓚, wasn't your quirk to summon meteors? 𝓎𝓔𝓚, get back here, you damn Deku. Pink cheeks. Grab on and make us weightless. We're catching that mutt. 𝓎𝓚𝓡𝓘, on it. 𝓎𝓚𝓡𝓘 climbs on Bakugo's back and makes herself and him weightless, and Bakugo starts using his explosions to boost them across the field, while Todoroki is kind of pissed because he is lagging behind, so he uses his ice to create a path where he can skate on. Cut back to Izuku, who was running at half speed so Mei wouldn't fall off when suddenly he had to dodge a metallic fist that came out of nowhere. When he looked back, he could see that it was a robot from the entrance exam. Izuku. So they're using the bots, but wouldn't that also mean there's going to be Mei, look out! Izuku's thoughts were cut off from Mei yelling at him. When he looked up, he saw a giant metallic fist that came flying at them, so he had to back up a bit to avoid being slammed. Present mic. And it looks like Midoriya and MEI have discovered the first obstacle. IT is the robot inferno. Izuku and Mei were quickly surrounded by robots, and he could hear that the other students were gaining on them. He could mainly just hear Bakugo yelling, so he had to make up a plan. Izuku. Mei, I got an idea, but you're going to have to trust me. Mei, I trust you, so go for it. Izuku. Okay. Wolf Pack, come forth. After Izuku said that, he used darkness manipulation. His shadow started to expand and rise, and the darkness started to take the shape of wolves. The audience was fascinated by this. When the wolves formed, they turned to their creator and lowered their heads. Izuku. Mei, I'm going to need you to go with them. They'll protect you with their lives. Mei, what about you? Izuku. Don't worry. I'll catch up. Just go. Mei, alright. Mei gets off Izuku and proceeds to leave with the wolves, taking out robots in their way while Izuku stays to face the robots, and the 0-pointers are even on the track in the first place. Bakugo. Deku. The Pomeranian with his girl on his back came rocketing directly at him. Izuku. Bakugo. I have no time for this. Izuku says as he jumps on a bot and uses it as a springboard to rocket himself towards the outstretched arm of the 0-pointer, also gaining the attention of the other 0-pointers. 𝓎𝓚𝓡𝓘. Don't worry. Kakin, you'll get him soon, but for now we need to catch that pink dreadlocks. Bakugo, TCH. Bakugo and 𝓎𝓚𝓡𝓘 flew over the smaller bots and made their way to the second obstacle. Following them are the other students who used the distraction Izuku did to move past the robot inferno and made their way to the second obstacle. Present mic. And it looks like Midoriya stayed to fight the 0-pointers, making it easier for the others to pass on through to the second obstacle, which is the fall. The fall is a deep pit that has pillars with ropes around them, which you can use to get across. And it looks like Mei Hatsum has crossed the fall and is making her way to the last obstacle, which is the minefield. So I suggest to watch your step. Back with Izuku, who is running up the arm of the 0-pointer heading to its head. 𝓎𝓚. What is he doing? Izuku makes it to the head of the robot and jumps high up and uses fly to stay in the sky. Quirk combination. Fire manipulation plus air manipulation. Izuku takes a deep breath and Izuku. Blast breath. Izuku shoots a high-powered inferno of flames that hits the first 0-pointer and starts melting it. The same goes for the other 0-pointers, which the inferno of flames melts until they are nothing. The crowd is freaking out. Random number 5. He can breathe fire too. Random number 6. How strong is this kid? 𝓎𝓚. You have 2 quirks? But that's impossible. Those 2 don't relate at all. From the opposite side of the stadium, we see a large man with a flaming costume. So this kid can breathe fire too. Interesting. Cut back to Izuku, who was still in the air. He took a quick look at where Mei was and saw that she was approaching the minefield, and the rest were not too far behind, so he dropped down and opened a green warp gate and dove right through, and another one opened right next to Mei, who was running toward the minefield with the wolf pack at her side. The crowd. He can teleport too. 𝓎𝓚. For quirks, but that's impossible unless… Izuku. Mei, get on. Mei, okay. Mei quickly gets on Izuku while the wolf pack sinks back into his shadow. Izuku gets on all fours and prepares to blitz through the minefield by powering advanced OFA at 5%, while also creating a harness from Construct to keep her from flying off. Izuku. Mei, hold on tight. Mei. I'm 𝓢𝓨𝓜𝓑𝓞𝓛. Mei couldn't finish her sentence because Izuku just blitzed through the minefield. Each step he took triggered the mines he stepped on, but they were too slow for him, thereby leaving a trail of explosions behind him. Present Mike. Would you look at that? Not only did Midoriya destroy the 0-pointers, but he also teleported back to first place, picked up 𝓎𝓔𝓈𝓽𝓛, and is now running faster than the mines can explode. Ladies and gentlemen, Izuku Midoriya is on a roll. From the start of the minefield, we see Bakugo and 𝓎𝓐𝓡 flying over the mines while following the explosions. Bakugo, that son of a bitch. Some of the other students use the path of exploded mines to run through the minefield, while Izuku has already made it past the minefield and just crossed the finish line, coming to a complete stop. Present Mike. In first place, we have Izuku Midoriya, and in second, Mei 𝓎𝓔𝓈𝓽𝓛. Izuku let a very disoriented Mei lie on the ground before transforming back in a puff of smoke. Izuku, you okay? Mei? Mei, yeah. Just give me a minute. Present Mike. And in third place, we have Katsuki Bakugo and Achiko 𝓎𝓐𝓡 takes fourth since she's still on Bakugo's back. The two land, and Bakugo wastes no time approaching Izuku with the intent to attack him. Bakugo? You motherfucker! Bakugo was about to hit Izuku, but he stopped him. Izuku, careful, Bakugo, you wouldn't want to be seen attacking a fellow student in front of everyone. Bakugo stopped and looked around, almost forgetting where he was. Bakugo, you're just lucky. Izuku, that's what you think. Bakugo backs off and heads back to 𝓎𝓐𝓡, while the other students make it through the finish line shortly after. Present Mike. And that concludes the obstacle race, with our top 42 students, meaning the rest of the students are out. So for now, we'll take a 10-minute break to let the 42 students rest. The remaining students sit on the grass to take a breather while the others move out and into the stands. Mei, okay, I'm good now. Izuku looks at her and uses matter creation to make a deck of cards. Izuku, you want to pass the time with some cards? Mei, sure, why not? So they both sat down and started playing. Mei, what do you think the next event will be? She says as she places a card. Izuku, probably something team-related. He says as he places a card. Mei, well, if it's that, do you want to team up? She places another card again. Izuku, sure. But are you going to use your gadgets? Another card again. Mei, nah, I'd rather use them at the final event. Another card. Izuku, cool. They continued to play until the break was over. Midnight. Alright people, it's time for the second event. The wheel on the Jumbotron starts spinning and it lands on midnight. A cavalry battle. Izuku, a cavalry battle, that isn't bad. Izuku says while still playing cards with Mei. Midnight, the rules are simple. The top 42 students each form a team of 2 to 4 for this event and earn points by grabbing the headbands from other teams. The number of points each student is worth is dependent on their placement in the obstacle course race. So if you're 42, you get 5 points, and if you're 41, you get 10 points, and so on. Izuku, so I have 210 points. Midnight. But there's a catch. The first-person headband is worth a whopping 10 million points. As soon as she said that, everyone's eyes were on Izuku, sending glares at him. But he sent a glare of his own that made them back away. Izuku, Sai looks like I'm public enemy number 1. Mei, don't worry about it. They won't even reach you. Izuku, I know it's just a pain. Midnight. The cavalry battle will last 15 minutes, and the point value of each team will be the total accumulation of each of the headbands taken. Mei, so right now with 10,205 points. Izuku, yep. Midnight. The one to wear the accumulated headband will be the rider. The headbands can be worn around the head or the neck, and if a team crumbles or loses a headband, that team is not out of the game. Quirks are allowed but cannot be used with malicious aim. You have 15 minutes to form your teams. Everyone immediately starts forming teams. Some are rushing over to Bakugo and Todoroki while avoiding Izuku and Mei. With Bakugo and 𝓎𝓐𝓡. Kirishima. Come on dude, pick me. You know you're going to need a strong horse, and I fit that job requirement. Siro. Come on man, you know I'm good for the help. Ashido, 𝓎𝓐𝓡. Come on. I'm your friend. They were all screaming at Bakugo until he had enough. Bakugo! All right. Shut up. Shitty hair and elbows. You're coming with us. Kirishima and Zero. All right, they said with a high five. Ishido, man. 𝓎𝓐𝓡. Don't worry, Ishido. Maybe you can find somebody else to join. Shido, yeah, I know. She walks off looking for a team. Bakugo. I almost got you. Deku. Just you wait. With Todoroki, who was looking over at Izuku and Mei. Todoroki. There's no way to beat him like this, so I'll just have to target other people until the event is over. Yaoyorozu, Ida, and Kaminari approach Todoroki. Yaoyorozu. Todoroki. We would like to join you if you don't mind. Todoroki. Why should I? Ida, well, with our combined strength, I'm sure we can win. Kaminari. Yeah, with Ida's speed, my electricity, Yaoyorozu's brains, and your strength, I'm sure we can pass. Todoroki thinks it over for a second. Todoroki. Well, they're not wrong. We could pass with a large amount of points, and we don't really need to attack Midoriya, so this works out for me. Todoroki. All right, you can join. Back to Izuku and Mei, who are still playing cards. Mei, so how do you want to do this? Izuku. I was just going to teleport us high up and stay there until time's up and defend if someone were to try and attack us. Mei, sounds like a plan. Kana. Looks like they aren't that worried. The 15 minutes were up, and the teams were formed. Midnight gave out the headbands so the event could start. Midnight. All right, people. Get ready. Each team starts to prepare to jump. Izuku and Mei. Midnight. Get set. Izuku carries Mei on his back and prepares to teleport. Midnight. Go. Each team starts rushing Izuku and Mei, but before they could reach them, they drop through a green warp gate, and another one opens high up, close to the roof of the stadium, where they appear and quickly stop and float above. Some of the students. OH. Come on. That has to be cheating. Midnight. Not really. They are still in the stadium, so that is perfectly legal. Some of the crowd were in awe of how smart this strategy was. Random number 6. To think that this kid could do these things. Random number 7. Yeah, man. And I can't wait to have him working for me at my agency. Random number 8. Who said he'll work for you? Random number 7. Says me? Who are you? Random number 8. Well, I'm. Some of the heroes argue over who Izuku is going to work with while Nagant just looks at them with disappointment. Kana. You just want him to boost your popularity, you greedy pigs. Up in the air, Izuku made a chair with construct where Mei is sitting on while they are floating in the air. Mei. This is going to take a while. Izuku. Yeah. Back on the ground. Bakugo. Damn you, Deku. Suddenly Bakugo's headband was swiped by Nito Monoma while he talked smack to Bakugo. Monoma. Really, it was that easy to take your points like it was nothing. While you were focused on Midoriya, we were observing you and your class during the obstacle race and used that to our advantage to target only you guys, so we 1B will come out on top. Monoma says mockingly while running away, but he adds more insults at Bakugo, enraging him. Monoma. It must be said to be a villain's victim every year. Ha 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 ha. Monoma hightails it out of there, leaving a very angry Pomeranian. Bakugo. Shitty hair. Change of plans. Kirishima. What's up, bro? Bakugo. Get that piece of shit so I can mangle him. Kirishima. On it, let go, guys. Zero and 𝓎𝓐𝓡. Right. With Team Todoroki, they are electrocuting and freezing teams left and right while also taking their headbands. Meanwhile, Bakugo fights Monoma, but Monoma is also holding his own by using Bakugo's quirk against him. But Bakugo attacks again but is stopped by Monoma again using Kirishima's quirk to block the attack. Bakugo sees that Monoma has a quirk that allows him to copy other people's quirks, which he confirms by receiving an explosion to the face. Monoma. Really, you rabid Pomeranian? You're the one who fanned the flames of war by acting all high and mighty. Now you're paying the consequences. There was only a minute left and people were getting desperate. Todoroki's team wasn't really struggling that much since they had enough points. Team Midoriya was just chilling in the air like they just didn't care, while Team Bakugo was still assaulting Monoma's team. Bakugo orders his team to attack. having 𝓎𝓐𝓡 use his tape and 𝓎𝓐𝓡 Team Bakugo floats while 𝓎𝓐𝓡 reels them in fast with his tape, catching Team Monoma off guard. Bakugo and Monoma clash, but Bakugo's animalistic fighting style and ambition to become #1 give him the strength to defeat Monoma and take the rest of his headbands, just in time for the cavalry battle to end. Present Mike. And that's it, folks. The cavalry battle is over, and the winning teams are Team Midoriya in first, Team Todoroki in second, Team Bakugo in third, and wait a minute. In a shocking turn of events, Team Hitoshi is in fourth. I didn't even see them do anything. The crowd goes wild after seeing such an epic show of teamwork, while Izuku and Mei warp back to the ground. Present Mike. All right, everyone. It's time for you to take an hour lunch break to fill your stomachs for the final event. After that announcement, people started heading to the cafeteria to go have lunch. Izuku was about to follow suit, but was stopped by Todoroki. Todoroki. Midoriya, can I talk to you for a second? Izuku. Sure, but we're going to miss lunch. Todoroki. I know, but this is serious. Izuku can see that this is urgent, so he follows him. But before they can reach their destination, Izuku makes a clone to take his place while he sneaks away to go eat. Izuku. I think I know what he wants to talk about, but food comes first. I'll deal with the information later. OG made his way to the cafeteria while the clone followed Todoroki to the tunnels. Todoroki. Midoriya. Do you remember what I said to you before the sports festival started? Clone. That you said you were going to beat me and become #1. How's that working out for you? Clone said mockingly to Todoroki, who didn't take that very kindly. Todoroki. I know I lost the past 2 events, but this last one, I'll come out on top. Clone. Sure you will, but this isn't why you called me over here, is it? Todoroki. No, it isn't. It's about what you were about to say on the bus to the USJ before you were cut off. Clone. Oh, you mean the quirk marriage. Todoroki. Yes, but also, do you know about my father, Endeavor? Clone. Of course I do. Enji Todoroki, currently the ranked #2 on the hero billboard. But he didn't get where he is now without doing any shady business. Todoroki. You're right. He's an egotistical son of a bitch who only cares about being #1 and nothing else. He even forces it on his children to carry on where he can't. Clone. What do you mean by that? Todoroki. The reason I want to win this is to spite my father and show him I can still win with only my ice side. Clone. Well, that's dumb. But why exactly? Todoroki. My father always wanted to be #1, but he always came up short, so he devised a plan, a quirk marriage that would allow him to conceive a child with an enhanced quirk and raise that child to rise above all might. But I will never be a tool of scum like Endeavor. The clone listened closely, and each word was making him angry. Clone. That bastard. Todoroki. My memories of my mother have always been about her crying and that she despised my left side. She says that it reminds her of him. She dumped boiling water on me. Now that royally pissed the clone off. Todoroki. So the reason why I must beat you is that I have to take the throne from the current king and become #1. That way I can truly show my father that I can win without his fire, and that would be a total disavowal of him, so understand that when the time comes, I will beat you. Once Todoroki finished, he walked away, leaving the clone alone in the tunnel. The clone was about to dismiss it but felt like somebody was watching it, so it turned to its left and used Quirk Sight to find this person. Clone. Bakugo, whatever you just heard, I would suggest you keep your mouth shut. The clone says to Bakugo, who was hiding behind a wall before it dismisses. The memories flow back to the original, who was finishing up his food. He was about to stand up when information hit him like a truck, but once he knew what Todoroki wanted to talk about, he was livid. Izuku, Endeavor. After the lunch break was over, the sports festival could resume with the announcement of the final event. Midnight. Alright people, it's time for the final event of the sports festival, and that will be the one-on-one tournament. The crowd was cheering very loudly. They were excited to see how the students fared in a one-on-one fight. Midnight. Now for the par dash. Midnight was cut off by a student or students. Ojiro. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Midnight Sensei, but I would like to withdraw. The crowd gasped in surprise and confusion. Midnight. But what would be the reason? Ojiro, I don't feel like I earned my place here in the tournament after the cavalry battle. I don't even remember what happened during half of it. I was manipulated to do something against my will, so that's why I want to withdraw from the tournament. Hagakure and Ishido tried to convince him to reconsider, but Ojiro, I know that the tournament is a rare opportunity, and it would be foolish of me to pass it up like this. But while everyone was giving it their best on their own, I wasn't doing my best due to being manipulated. I'd rather keep my dignity than ride on someone else's coattails. Another one of the students comes forward from Class 1B. Shota, I also request to withdraw. My reason is the same as his. Midnight took a second to consider this but ultimately made a decision. Midnight, such passion. I like it. Mishiro Ojiro and Nirigiki Shota withdraw from the tournament. So now there are 2 open slots that can be filled in by a team that placed 5th, which is Team Kendo. Kendo, oh no, we don't deceive this. Why not give this opportunity to Team Tetsu? Tetsu, Kendo, are you sure about this? Kendo, yeah, your team did most of the work out of all of us, so you deserve this chance. Tetsu, who was now crying manly tears. Tetsu, thank you so much. Kendo, we won't let you down. Right, Ibara? Ibara will make one be proud. Once that was over, Midnight started the draw for the tournament, and the results were Izuku Midoriya versus Hitoshi Shinso, Shoto Todoroki versus Hanta Siro, Denki Kaminari versus Ibara Shiozaki, Yuga Aoyama versus Nito Minoma, Momo Yaoyorozu versus Reiko Yanagi, Ijiro Kirishima versus Tetsu, Mei Hatsum versus Achiko Uraraka, Tenya Ida versus Katsuki Bakugo, Izuku, Hitoshi Shinso. Now who might that be? Izuku uses quirk. Sight to look for this Shinso when he saw quirk approaching him. Quirk, brainwashing, allows the user to put their target in a state where they are forced to obey all of their commands. In order to activate their power, they need their target to verbally respond to something they say. Izuku, that's an extremely powerful quirk if used correctly, and I might find a use for it. Izuku then turned off quirk. Sight to see who this person is. It was a dude with purple hair and had eye bags that could rival Aizawa's. You must be Izuku Midoriya. I'm Hitoshi Shinso. Looks like we'll be fighting each other first. Shinso says with his hand outstretched for a handshake, which Izuku gladly took. But a tail was making a direct course for his face, but just phased right through him and took Shinso's hand. Brainwashing copied. Brainwashing evolved. Command inducement. Izuku. I know, and I would suggest thinking of another plan for fighting me. Of course, your quirk won't work on me. That caught Shinso off guard. Shinso, how does he know my quirk? Did the monkey tell him that? Shinso retrieved his hand back and went to his waiting room, leaving a very satisfied Izuku and a very confused Ojiro. Izuku, let me guess, you were about to warn me about his quirk, right? Ojiro, yeah. Izuku, well, you don't have to worry. I already know, and don't go swinging your tail in my face. I don't know where it came from, geez. Ojiro was embarrassed by that. Ojiro, oh sorry, well, good luck with your match. Izuku, thanks. Izuku walks to his waiting room and sits down on a chair and thinks. Izuku, that Shinso guy was only going to use his quirk to fight against me, but it wouldn't matter because my command inducement has a failsafe. When Izuku's copied quirk of brainwashing evolved into command inducement, it came with a passive ability that gives the user immunity to mind-based attacks. Izuku, he doesn't look like he can fight without it, meaning it's going to come down to me if I want to finish this quickly or drag it on. Would Izuku Midoriya and Hitoshi Shinso come down to the stage? Round 1. Match 1. Izuku Midoriya versus Hitoshi Shinso. Izuku, well, it's showtime. Izuku walks through the tunnel and out to a cheering crowd. Present mic. Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, he has taken first in both events so far. He's a powerhouse on the field. And he's the #1 pick to win this whole thing. He's from the hero course. Izuku Midoriya. The crowd cheers louder once Izuku stands on the stage. Present mic. And in the other corner, he really hasn't shown much of what he's got, but made it to the final event. From the Department of General Studies, 𝓎𝓔𝓈𝓚, who's in the booth with President Mike, speaks up. 𝓎, hey, stop that. The crowd was cheering but not as loud as for Izuku, much to Shinso's displeasure. But he pushes through and stands on the stage across from Izuku, giving him a nasty glare. Midnight. Alright people, I want a good clean fight, nothing under the belt. If you throw something lethal, you'll be disqualified, and to prevent that, we have 𝓤𝓚𝓚 to prevent you from getting hurt. The only way to win is by ring out, knockout, or submission. Got it? Izuku and Shinso. Got it. Midnight. Right. Now let's begin the first round of the tournament. The match starts with neither of them moving. Shinso. Looks like that monkey wasted his chance to compete over something like dignity. Izuku. That's very rude. You know? Shinso. Ha! I got you. Now step out of line. Izuku didn't move at all and just looked at him bored. Izuku. I don't think I will. Shinso. What? How is he not affected? Shinso. How are you not affected by my quirk? Answer me. Izuku was now annoyed by his outburst. Izuku. I don't think I'll tell you. Now Shinso was mad. So he sprinted to Izuku with the intent to punch him. But Izuku had other plans. Izuku. Might as well try it out. Izuku activated command inducement and told Shinso. Izuku. Why don't you stop running? Shinso stopped in his tracks with a blank expression on his face, much to the confusion of the crowd and Shinso himself. Shinso. What's happening? Izuku, now walk out of bounds. Shinso complied with that order and was making his way to the end of the ring, much to the surprise of the crowd. Random number 9. What is that kid doing? Random number 10. Why is he just listening to him? Random number 11. It could be his quirk? Random number 9. But isn't his quirk that wolf form? Random number 10. Wait, couldn't he breathe fire? Random number 11. But if he has multiple quirks, doesn't that mean? The crowd was murmuring with themselves on what his quirk was, and some have come to a very disturbing conclusion. Kana. If that's the case, people might label him as a villain, not on my watch. Back to Shinso, who just crossed the border. Midnight. Hitoshi Shinso is out of bounds. Izuku Midoriya wins. The crowd's cheering were less than enthusiastic because of what they believe is Izuku's quirk, and Izuku could tell some of them figured it out, but they're not voicing it. Off in the student section of the stands, Bakugo was grinning ear to ear. Bakugo. Looks like it's almost time. Back to the stage where Izuku released Shinso from his hold. Shinso collapsed on his knees. Shinso. No way, I just lost without even trying. But how did he use my own quirk against me? Unless. Shinso looked back at Izuku, who was walking back to the stands with eyes of hatred and fear. The other matches commenced. Match 2. Shoto Todoroki vs 𝓤𝓚𝓚. Todoroki walks out of his waiting room and thinks about Izuku's victory over Shinso. Todoroki. He used Shino's quirks against him, meaning he might use the same thing against me. He encounters his father Endeavor in the hallway and asks what he wants. Endeavor claims that Todoroki is acting disgracefully because he did not use his fire in the first or second events. He tells Todoroki to stop rebelling and reminds him of his duty to surpass all might. He says he is different from his siblings and calls him his masterpiece. This deeply infuriates Todoroki, and he bitterly retorts to Endeavor that he will win the entire tournament without giving him the pleasure of seeing him use his left side. Endeavor replies that even if only his ice works in this tournament, he will eventually reach the limits of his mother's quirk. A little while later, Todoroki and 𝓎𝓚 take the stage, and President Mike introduces them to the crowd. Midnight announces the start of the second match of the finals, and 𝓎𝓚 opens with a swift tape attack. He wraps tape around Todoroki and tries to fling him out of bounds. He tried to throw him out of bounds, but as Todoroki was about to be thrown out, he apologized and then used his feet to freeze the ground and spread it towards 𝓎𝓚, creating a burst that shakes the entire arena. Todoroki excessively freezes 𝓎𝓚 inside a giant wave of ice that leaves half the entire festival arena frozen. Izuku, overkill much. Todoroki breaks free from the frozen restraints while 𝓎𝓚 is immobilized. Half frozen herself, Midnight asks if 𝓎𝓚 can move, He admits that he has been immobilized, and Midnight declares Todoroki as the winner. There was silence. Everyone was still in awe, but eventually the crowd chanted, "Nice try," commending 𝓍𝓣 for his effort. Todoroki approaches 𝓍𝓣. "Todoroki, sorry for that. I was a little angry." 𝓍𝓣, "DDD don't SWSW sweat TTT DDDU. 𝓍𝓣 responds in a stuttering mass from being frozen, so Todoroki starts to slowly melt him out, so he turns to Midnight. "Todoroki, this might take a while." Midnight, "Oh well, we'll take a dash." She was interrupted by a green warp gate where Izuku walks out. "Izuku, don't worry. I'll help," he says while walking towards the two. Todoroki was a bit offended but let him deal with it and walked back into the tunnels. Izuku placed his hand on the ice on 𝓍𝓣's chest and used fire manipulation to free him and get rid of the ice. The crowd was watching in awe at his glowing right hand. Endeavor was the most interested. Izuku, flash. A wave of heat escaped through his hand and spread throughout the 𝓍𝓣 and into the ice. After a second, the ice instantly turned into steam, freeing 𝓍𝓣 and making a giant steam cloud. Many of the crowd had their jaws on the floor. Endeavor. That level of control is only something I can dream of. I need to talk to him. When the steam cleared, it revealed a slightly wet but free 𝓍𝓣, who was on the floor unconscious because of the steam, and Izuku, who was just standing there with his hands in his pockets. Midnight, "Well, thank you, Midoriya. Could you send 𝓍𝓣 to Recovery Girl?" Izuku, "Sure." Izuku opened a warp gate under 𝓍𝓣 that led to Recovery Girl. He opened another one back to the stands, leaving the crowd impressed and also scared, but the show must go on. Match 3. Denki Kaminari vs. Ibara Shiozaki. Present Mike welcomes both competitors to the stage following the removal of ice from the arena. Shiozaki asks Present Mike why he introduced her as an assassin and explains that all she wishes to do is spread good and salvation across the world. Present Mike apologizes, and Kaminari admits that perhaps everyone in Class 1B isn't a jerk. He ponders how cute Shiozaki is and decides he needs to ask her out before he locks in and prepares to fight. The battle begins, and Kaminari asks Shiozaki if they could go out to eat after the battle. He claims he wants to comfort her after her loss and that their match will be over in seconds. Kaminari charges his electricity and uses his indiscriminate shock. 1.3 million volts technique. Shiozaki simply turns her back to Kaminari and commands her hair to create a shield of vines to protect her from the shock. Kaminari enters his dumb state, and Shiozaki counterattacks by sending vines at him. The vines wrap Kaminari up and hang him over the stage, immobilizing him. Midnight declares Shiozaki the winner. Match 4. Yuga Aoyama vs. Nito Minoma. Present Mike introduces Nito Minoma and Yuga Aoyama for the fourth match of the finals. Minoma says winning will be easy, but Aoyama plans to make him eat his words. Class 1B cheers for Minoma from the stands while Class 1A just wants him to blast Minoma out of the ring. Izuku. It all depends on if Minoma can avoid those lasers. Aoyama fires his naval laser at Minoma, but he turns his arms into steel to tank the laser. He copied some quirks before heading to the ring. Aoyama continues to shoot beams at him while Minoma either evades or tanks the shots and claims that he already knows about Aoyama's weakness because he saw the video footage of the battle training. Minoma continues to either dodge or tank Aoyama's flurry of beams. After he misses a rather large shot, his stomach begins to hurt, and Minoma capitalizes. He shoots scales from his arms at his belt, breaking it and dropping his pants in the process. Minoma takes the opening and finishes Aoyama with a strong uppercut. Midnight declares Nito Minoma the winner. Match 5. Momo Yaoyorozu vs. Reiko Yanagi. Present Mike introduces Yanagi and Yaoyorozu to the crowd to the fifth match of the finals. Izuku. Timing is key here. Yaoyorozu will ponder what Yanagi's abilities are and will try to strategize before the match begins. The match suddenly begins and catches Yaoyorozu off guard. Yanagi quickly charges in to attack Yaoyorozu, and she defends herself by creating a shield. She tries to create a polearm, but Yanagi uses her quirk to snatch the shield from Yaoyorozu and uses it to attack her. Yaoyorozu creates another shield, but Yanagi uses the previous shield and rams it into her. knocking her back. The onslaught from Yanagi mysteriously stops, confusing Yaoyorozu. She creates a pole in her arms to take the offensive, but Midnight reveals that Yaoyorozu has been knocked out of bounds without her realizing it. Yaoyorozu looks down to see her foot slid out of bounds, and Midnight announces Yanagi is the winner. Match 6. Ijiro Kirishima vs Tetsu. This match has been teased since Tetsu and Kirishima first met during the obstacle race. Their quirks are virtually the same, which Mike points out while introducing them both to the crowd. Kendo cheers for Tetsu while Kyoko wakes up sleeping Mineta with her earphone jack. Kirishima and Tetsu run at each other with their quirks active before planting their feet and colliding fists. Kirishima punches Tetsu, and Tetsu immediately returns the attack. They taunt each other back and forth while trading quirk-enhanced, hardened blows. The two hard-headed heroes in training continue to break through each other's defenses and strike one another until they knock each other out at the exact same time. Midnight announces that they're both down, and the battle ends in a draw. She decides that the outcome will be decided via an arm wrestling contest. Spectating pro heroes commend the two young men for their inspiring passion and effort. Kirishima and Tetsu are both carried off the stage on stretchers to go get healed so they can have their tiebreaker. After a few minutes of waiting, both of them came back fully healed thanks to Mrs. Midoriya, so they started the arm wrestling, with their quirks both active. Kirishima ultimately wins after Tetsu's iron arm cracks. Match 7. Mei Hatsum vs Ochako Uraraka. Present Mike. And in this corner, we have the mad scientist who will create anything that can either help society or bring it to its knees. From the support course, Mei Hatsum. And in the other corner, she can make anything lose its gravity and throw it out of this world. From the hero course, Ochako Uraraka. Both Mei and Uraraka came out from the tunnels, but Mei was wearing her inventions that Izuku helped her build, much to Uraraka's displeasure. Uraraka. Hey! Why is she allowed to bring gadgets to the right? Midnight, well, it's a bit different when it comes to the support course. They are allowed to bring in gadgets they made that are certified by Power Loader. Mei, yep. My babies will surely grab the attention of the bigwigs up there in the stands, and I will make sure to demonstrate that they can beat you. Uraraka. In your dreams. Both females got into their ready positions. Midnight. Start. Uraraka quickly bolts towards Mei with her arms stretched out but is quickly cut off by a grenade that was shot at her from a handheld grenade launcher and exploded into a white, slimy form before hardening. Mei. That my pink-cheeked friend is my goo shooter. It shoots a grenade filled with a highly reactive chemical that reacts with air to quickly solidify and render the target unable to move. Uraraka tried to break free but was locked in place. Midnight. Uraraka is unable to move. Mei Hatsum is the winner, but Hatsum, can you free Uraraka? Mei, sure, I can. Mei quickly loads in a different grenade and shoots it at Uraraka, which explodes in a clear liquid that quickly liquefies the hardened substance, freeing Uraraka. Mei leaves the arena and heads back to the stands while Uraraka heads back to the waiting room, with Bakugo following after her with an angry expression. Once in, they enter the waiting room, and Uraraka tackles Bakugo and starts crying into his chest. Uraraka. I didn't even get a chance to fight. Bakugo holds Uraraka close and hugs her, rubbing circles on her back. Bakugo. Don't worry, Ochako. I'll make dreadlocks pay. After a while, Uraraka calms down just in time for Bakugo's fight. Match 8. Tenya Ida vs Katsuki Bakugo. Present Mike introduces Tenya Ida and Katsuki Bakugo, but Bakugo looks pissed. When the match started, Bakugo instantly charged with his explosions, pushing him forward, and Ida sprints at Bakugo. During the battle, Bakugo and Ida trade blows using their quirks. Ida's fast movements help him dodge Bakugo's explosions, and he manages to land a kick to Bakugo's side, making him back off and mull over Ida's persistence and wonder how long his opponent can keep moving. Ida rushes Bakugo and tries to strike him with a flurry of kicks. This puts Bakugo on the defensive and forces him to constantly dodge while losing ground. Bakugo fights back with his explosions, blasting Ida relentlessly until he damages Ida to the point of almost passing out. Bakugo prepared a large explosion while Ida prepared to go all in, but he was hit with the explosion, but he managed to dodge it at the last second. He was about to go again, but Bakugo unleashed a barrage of explosions that forced Ida out of bounds, declaring Katsuki Bakugo the winner. Present Mike. Well, that concludes the first round of the finals. And what can I say, but those were interesting matches. But there's still more to come in the semi-finals. After Present Mike says that the draw for the semi-finals begins. Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. Ibara Shiozaki versus Nito Minoma. Reiko Yanagi versus Eijiro Kirishima. Mei Hatsum versus Katsuki Bakugo. Once the draw was shown, Izuku internally panicking. Izuku. Bakugo is not going to hold back against Mei. No, he would just make her suffer. I need to talk to Mei. Izuku makes his way to Mei, who was eating a donut. Mei, yeah. Zuzu, want a donut? Izuku. Mei, we need to talk in private. Izuku didn't even give Mei a chance to respond before being pulled into a portal that leads to Izuku's waiting room. Once there, Izuku sat Mei down and started talking. Izuku. Mei, I know this might be hard for you to do, but I need you to forfeit your match with Bakugo. Mei, what? Why? Izuku. Because that Pomeranian won't hold back, more so since you're my friend, and since you also beat Uraraka, who is his girlfriend, so easily. Mei, but we prepared for this. Izuku. I know, but now he's fueled to make me suffer, and the fastest way to do that is by hurting you. Mei sits there for a while processing what Izuku said. Mei, Izuku is not wrong. He would make him suffer by hurting me badly, but I can't give up when I made it this far. Mei looked at Izuku with determination in her eyes. Mei, Izuku, don't worry. I'll make sure to beat that mutt and make sure that he doesn't hurt me too badly. Izuku. Mei, did you hear me? He won't care if you try to not get hurt. He will make sure you suffer. Mei, and I said I'll make sure not to get hurt. Just trust me. Izuku looked at Mei for a few seconds before closing his eyes. Izuku. Fine. But if I see that he's about to do something terrible, I'm jumping in. Got it? Mei, I got it. I got it. Just let me try and win against him, alright? Izuku sigh fine. Will Izuku Midoriya and Shoto Todoroki make their way to the arena? Round 2. Match 1. Mei, well, it looks like it's your time to shine, so knock him dead. Izuku, sure, I will. They both exit the waiting room, Mei making her way back to the stands while Izuku walks to the arena but is stopped by a large flaming man. This man was Endeavor, the number 2 hero. Endeavor, I've been trying to talk to you after that display of fire control during the second round, and I've got to say, that was impressive. Endeavor offers his hand to shake it. Izuku looks at it for a second but accepts it anyway. Hellflame copied. Hellflame evolved. Hellfire manipulation. Izuku. Thanks, but I know that's not why you came here. Is it? Endeavor, you're very perceptive. I like that, but you're right. I did want to talk to you about something. Izuku. It's about Todoroki not using his fire side. Isn't it? Endeavor. Precisely, he doesn't understand that he cannot win only using his ice. I created him for the purpose of surpassing all might, yet he is being stubborn to follow his destiny. Izuku. Let me stop you right there, Endeavor. Endeavor looked at Izuku with a curious look. Izuku, you know I actually hate people like you, using your status and power to do whatever you want without caring what happens to the people that are affected by your actions. Buying an innocent woman for her quirk and forcing her to bear your children in the hopes of having a powerful child. You make me sick. Endeavor, hearing this, starts heating up, making the hallway rise in temperature, to which Izuku replies by decreasing the temperature by using a technique he created with elemental manipulation. He calls it temperature regulation, where he can maintain different levels of temperature for extended periods of time, if not indefinitely. Izuku. But I do agree with you on one point. Todoroki is being stubborn not using his full power because sooner or later, he's going to face a life and death situation where he's going to have to choose to save lives or keep his stupid promise, so don't worry. I'll make him use his fire. Izuku says while walking past a clam-down Endeavor. Endeavor. That kid is something else. I wonder if I can arrange a quick marriage with Fuyumi. Izuku makes his way toward the stage where he already sees Todoroki waiting. Present Mike. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first match of the semi-finals. The crowd was cheering their lungs out for how this fight was going to go. But some were still on edge because of 𝓢𝓐𝓡. I wonder how you're going to fight him. Present Mike. In this corner, he is the prince of ice and fire, but mostly ice since he only uses that. He is the son of the number 2 hero. He is from the hero course. He is Shoto Todoroki. Todoroki was pissed to hear his name being announced like that, but he stayed cool. The crowd was cheering loudly for him, and he could hear some of the comments from the crowd. Random hero number 13. The son of endeavor. I wouldn't mind him working for me in the future. Random hero number 14. In your dreams, he's going to work for endeavor anyway. Present Mike. And in the other corner, he is a powerhouse on the field, having won every match so far. He is also from the hero course, Izuku Midoriya. The crowd wasn't cheering as loudly, and Izuku could hear some very concerning comments. Random hero number 15. If his quirk is that quirk, we're going to have a problem. Random hero number 16. That villain deserves to rot in jail. Random hero number 17. How did he even get into this school? Izuku. Not good. Sooner or later, they might cause a problem. Midnight. Alright, you two, you know the rules, right? Izuku and Todoroki. Right, Midnight. Well, let this match begin. Todoroki started off with a giant ice attack, the same size he used against Zero. It was approaching Izuku at high speeds. Izuku, you never learn. Izuku 𝓢𝓨𝓜𝓑𝓞𝓛. The ice attack was about to hit Izuku, but it stopped dead in its tracks, much to the confusion of Todoroki. But soon after, the ice started to break apart and melt and fly towards Izuku and started forming a ball of water above him. The ice Todoroki attacked with was now gone. Izuku. I told you, Todoroki, if you don't bother using your full strength, then you're not worth my time. Todoroki. Shut up. Todoroki attacked with another ice attack, but the same thing was happening. The ice he kept on attacking was being melted and collected into Izuku's dome of water, which has now grown to the size of the stage. After a while of this, the ice started slowing down, and Todoroki's body was covered in frost, and he looked like he was about to go hyperthermic. Some of the heroes were commenting on what's happening. Random hero number 19. That villain is just making him suffer. Random hero number 20. Yeah, he knows he could have won this, but why drag it out? Izuku. So I'm already a villain in their eyes. Izuku, Todoroki, use your fire. Todoroki. NNNEFVVER. Izuku. Todoroki, you're gonna get hyperthermia if you keep on going like this. Todoroki. I don't 𝓢𝓐𝓡𝓣10. Izuku. Then let me ask you this. Why did you want to become a hero? Todoroki. Because dash. Izuku. Don't involve your father. I'm asking you why you want to be a hero. Todoroki was now on his knees, shivering. He was now thinking why he wanted to be a hero in the first place. As Todoroki is on his knees, he remembers his mother burning his face. He slowly recovers and states that he will continue to reject his father. Todoroki. I wanted to be a 𝓎𝓔𝓈𝓽𝓆 who SS saves people. Izuku. Then use your fire. It belongs to you and no one else. Izuku's words allow Todoroki to remember a positive memory about his mother telling him to be his own hero. Impassioned by Izuku and his mother's words, Todoroki burst out in a blazing fire. Within those flames, he was smiling. Present Mike. I can't believe it, people. Todoroki has finally unleashed his fire. How will Midoriya counter this? Izuku, there we go. From the stands we can hear a SSSHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHI told you I wouldn't fight you seriously if you only used half your strength, but it wouldn't matter anyway since you are about to lose. Todoroki. I take great offense, but you are right. I have no chance against you, but I will not go down without a fight. Todoroki prepared to launch a concentrated blast of fire and a wave of ice against him. Izuku. That's the spirit. Izuku also prepared his own attack. He used fire manipulation to form a ball of fire on his index finger, which continued to grow in size. They both stood across from each other until Todoroki attacked first, launching a wave of ice towards Izuku. but the ice just melted and collected into the water dome. So Todoroki decided to attack with his fire. Todoroki. Heat haze. A wave of fire made its way towards Izuku. It was melting the ground as it approached. Izuku, his fire is strong, but it lacks control, but he'll get there. Izuku threw his attack. Izuku. Cruel sun. Izuku's attack resembled a mini sun. It flew towards Todoroki's attack, but when they collided, Cruel Sun tore through heat haze and was approaching Todoroki fast. But before it could hit him, it blew up in a wave of hot air and smoke that blew Todoroki out of the ring and into the wall. When the smoke cleared, they saw Izuku still standing in the ring with not a scratch on him and Todoroki in a wall, unconscious. The crowd was silent for a while until there was cheering, but not from the heroes. It was the civilians. The heroes were on edge. Endeavor, yeah, he would be perfect for Fuyumi. Midnight went to check on Todoroki to see if he was still alive. After checking his pulse and making sure he was still breathing, she announced, Midnight. Todoroki is defeated. Izuku Midoriya is the winner. The civilians cheered while the heroes glared. Kana, this is really bad. Izuku looked around at the destroyed stage and decided to use earth manipulation to fix it, much to the gratitude of 𝓤𝓐𝓡. After that, he left to the stands to watch the other matches but was on edge about Mei's fight. Match 2. Ibara Shiozaki vs. Nito Minoma. Present Mike introduces Ibara Shiozaki and Nito Minoma to the stage. They both are from the same class, so they respect each other. When the match started, Shiozaki attacked with her vines, while Minoma used a blade to cut through the vines, but was quickly overwhelmed by the speed the vines grew. Eventually, he got tired and gave Shiozaki the chance to restrain Minoma in a cross made of vines. Midnight asks if Minoma can move but admits that he can, making Ibara Shiozaki the winner. Match 3. Reiko Yanagi vs. Eijiro Kirishima. They both got introduced by Present Mike and started the match. Kirishima charged at Yanagi and started throwing punches. Yanagi could only dodge because she didn't have anything to use against him, and she can't attack him directly because of his quirk. Yanagi slipped and gave Kirishima an opening to land a devastating gut punch, knocking the wind out of her and causing her to fall unconscious. Midnight came to check her out and found her unconscious, making Eijiro Kirishima the winner. Match 4. Mei Hatsum vs. Katsuki Bakugo. Present Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on our final fight before the semi-finals. The crowd cheered loudly. Present Mike. Making her way to the ring. She is the creator of gadgets, the Mad Woman of Destruction. She is from the support course, Mei Hatsum. The crowd cheered for her as she made her way to the ring, and she was wearing some gauntlets and boots with a bodysuit. She looked toward the stand to see Izuku standing there with his hands on the railing, holding it tightly. He was on edge. Present Mike. And making his way to the ring. He is explosive, blonde, and has an attitude problem. Bakugo. Hey. Present Mike. He is from the hero course, Katsuki Bakugo. The crowd cheered for him as he made his way to the stage. He had a nasty expression on his face. He looked to the stands and saw Izuku was on edge, and he smiled at that, a nasty, devilish smile. He made it to the stage across from Mei. Midnight. All right, you know the rules. I see anything under the belt, and you are out of here. Got it? Mei, got it. Bakugo. Midnight. Begin. Not even a second later, Bakugo was on Mei and unloaded on her with explosions. He didn't let Mei catch a break. He couldn't. He wanted to make her suffer, but he was cut off by a punch to the gut by a metallic fist, which sent him back quite a bit. When he landed, he took a look at Mei and found her still standing, but her face had smug marks. Mei, you really didn't give me a chance to even speak. Not cool. Bakugo. How are you still standing? Mei then similes at Bakugo. Mei. I'm glad you asked. This suit I'm wearing was specifically made to withstand your explosions, meaning you can't touch me. Investors in the stands. Investor number 3. That is really smart and it looks light too. Investor number 4. Agreed. Bakugo. So it can take my explosions, huh? Well, how about my fists? But I can't let people see what I'm doing. Bakugo rushed at Mei again, who was prepared to take an explosion but was met with an 𝓢𝓨𝓈 fist to the chest, creaking several ribs in the process. Mei gasped for air and went down on her knees, clutching her chest. Bakugo, you say you can take my explosions, but you never said fists. Bakugo powered up whatever percentage he could use after most of it was sealed. A faint orange lightning arched around him. Izuku, what is he doing? Bakugo then created a smokescreen by clapping his hands with explosions. The smoke covered both of them, blocking the view from the audience. Within the smoke, Bakugo grabbed Mei's hair and pulled her to his face. Bakugo, you made fun of my girl, you know? He then proceeded to punch her in the gut hard, making her spit out blood. Bakugo, I would have just thrown you out, but seeing you know that Deku, I'm gonna have to make you suffer. He then kneed her in the face, making her let out a scream of pain that was heard around the arena. He grabbed her arm and snapped it in two, earning another yell of pain. He started to brutalize her, punching, kicking, strangling, and doing all sorts of painful torture. The smoke was starting to clear up, so he jumped out of the smoke and prepared the largest explosion he could create. He then shot it out. Cementos was about to stop it, but a white blur rushed in the smoke and in the path of the explosion. Izuku, spatial technique pitch, black. A small black hole formed on the palm of Izuku's hand, facing the explosion, and started sucking up the smoke and eventually the explosion until there was nothing left except a trail of destroyed rubble and destruction. The black hole disappeared, and Izuku turned to Mei, who was lying on the floor bleeding. Izuku kneeled down to check the over. Izuku, Mei, can you hear me? Mei, who was barely conscious. Mei, Izuku? Izuku, I'm here, Mei. Just rest. I'll heal you. Izuku placed his hand on her chest, and a green glow started to envelop Mei. Her injuries were being healed, bones started to mend, and any internal damage was fixed. It took a minute, but she was healed to perfect health. She was still unconscious, though, so Izuku opened a warp gate under her and sent her to Recovery Girls. Once that was done, he looked back at Bakugo with hatred in his eyes. Bakugo, what are you going to do, huh? Izuku didn't say anything. He just pointed his index and middle fingers towards Bakugo, and a small white hole formed. Izuku, spatial technique reversal, white. For a bit of context on these spatial techniques, it's a category of techniques Izuku created. Spatial technique pitch. Black is a reinforced version of the neutral spatial manipulation. Black is the byproduct of Izuku amplifying spatial energy and its negative counterpart and producing a vacuum. Through this, Izuku creates a scenario where the world itself is forced to correct itself and fill in the negative space, causing all matter in the range of the commanded space to be sucked in. Spatial technique reversal. White, being an inverse of black, has the opposite effect. Using his reversal technique to invert the properties of black, Izuku activates the divergence of his spatial manipulation and causes an extremely powerful repulsive force, repelling all matter in its vicinity. Being an ability that is powered by positive spatial energy and formed as a reverse spatial technique, the ability has 2 times the destructive ability of black, and since both black and white are connected universally, anything black sucks in would shoot out of white as a form of pure energy. Midnight saw this and got in between the two. Midnight, Midoriya, I know you're upset about what Bakugo did, but you have to wait to face him in the finals if he wins. So please calm down and wait. Izuku still had the white hole trained on Bakugo but dismissed it because Midnight was right. He will face him soon. Izuku opened another warp gate in his waiting room for his next match. Semifinals. Match 1. Present mic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the semifinals. We've seen incredible matches these past few rounds, but we're now nearing the end of the sports festival. The crowd cheered. Present mic. Now in this corner, he is the powerhouse that could level the house. He is power incarnate. From the hero course, Izuku Midoriya. The crowd was not cheering at all. Even the civilians weren't cheering since they kept on hearing that Izuku might have that quirk, and they were quite scared. A green warp gate opened, and out came Izuku, but something was off about him. He had an aura around him that screamed death. Present mic. And in the other corner, we have the copycat himself. Also from the hero course, 𝓢𝓨𝓜𝓑𝓞𝓛. This time the crowd cheered for Monoma as he walked out of the tunnel and onto the stage. He was looking all smug and shit. Monoma, well, if it isn't the mutt. What, you mad that your friend got hurt by that rabid dog? Well, don't worry. When I defeat you, I'll make sure to make him pay. Izuku didn't say anything. He just stared at him with his crimson forest eyes, which unnerved Monoma. Midnight. Begin. Monoma didn't even get a chance to move because Izuku appeared before him and landed a punch to his gut. The punch sparked black and red lightning that shot Monoma out of the ring and into the wall unconscious. Again, the crowd didn't cheer. They all glared at him, but Izuku didn't care. All he wanted to do was tear Bakugo limb from limb. Match 2. Katsuki Bakugo vs. Ijiro Kirishima. Present Mike introduced Katsuki Bakugo and Ijiro Kirishima, with the crowd cheering for them. They got into the fight stance and waited for the match to begin. During the battle, Bakugo and Kirishima trade blows using their quirks. Kirishima's hardened skin dampens Bakugo's explosions, and then Kirishima cuts his cheek open with a punch. Bakugo backs off, mulls over Kirishima's persistence, and wonders how long his opponent can keep his hardening up. Kirishima rushes Bakugo and tries to strike him with a flurry of punches. This puts Bakugo on the defensive and forces him to constantly dodge while losing ground. Bakugo fights back with his explosions until he finally manages to damage Kirishima. He surmises that Kirishima has been pushing his quirk beyond its limits by keeping his body rock hard the entire fight. Knowing that Kirishima's defense will give at any moment, Bakugo strikes with a large explosion. Kirishima manages to block it, but Bakugo unleashes a barrage of explosions that force Kirishima to overuse his quirk. Bakugo capitalizes on the opening and strikes Kirishima with one final explosion. Kirishima falls defeated, and Midnight declares Bakugo the winner. Now it was the match that will decide everything. Finals. Izuku Midoriya vs. Katsuki Bakugo. This was the most anticipated fight of the whole sports festival. The air around the arena was thick and tense, and everyone present and watching could feel that something big was going to happen. Present Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the match I'm sure all of you have been waiting for. This match will determine who will be the winner of the sports festival. There was loud cheering around the arena and across Japan. Present Mike. Now let me introduce our fighters. In this corner, he is an explosive pack of uncontrollable dynamite. He's blonde, he's strong, and he could make your babies cry with that scowl of his. He's from the hero course, and his name is Katsuki Bakugo. The crowd cheered the loudest they've ever cheered the whole day. When they saw Bakugo walking out with a massive grin, he had a plan to make sure Izuku is ruined forever. He made it to the stage. He was now waiting for his opponent. Present Mike. And in the other corner, he's won every round he's ever faced. He's been on top since the start of the sports festival. He's the white-haired menace, the strongest of the strong, the god of destruction and creation, the king of dash, Aizawa. We get it. Present Mike. Sorry, got carried away there. He is also from the hero course. He is Izuku Midoriya. The crowd was quiet. They didn't utter a single sound. They could hear footsteps from the tunnel, getting closer and closer, until Izuku emerged. He had a calm demeanor, but the aura surrounding him was anything but calm. He walked up to the stage and stared Bakugo dead in the eyes with unbridled hatred, but Bakugo just had a smug face the whole time. Midnight. Alright boys, you know the rules. This match is the last match of the festival, so I want everything to be clean and no cheating. Got it? Izuku didn't say anything and just continued staring, while Bakugo produced a microphone out of his pocket. Bakugo. Well, before the match starts, I want to tell everyone something that relates to this shitbag right here, and I'm pretty sure some, if not all, of you know what I'm about to talk about. In the booth with the teachers. Nizu, what is he doing and where did he get that microphone? Yagi, I gave it to him. The rest looked at Yagi with a questioning look. Nizu, and why did you? Yagi, to tell people the truth. Nizu, realizing what he meant, was about to reply but was beaten by Inko. Inko, are you crazy? If that brat tells people what my son has, they'll label him a villain. Mitsuki, H-E-Y. Watch whose son you call a brat a bitch. The two were about to fight when 𝓎𝓐𝓢 interrupted them. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, enough. We'll talk about this later. But for now we need to deal with the matter at hand. 𝓎𝓐𝓢 was about to cut the connection with the mic but was stopped by All Might. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, 𝓎𝓐𝓡, what are you doing? 𝓎𝓐𝓡, this needs to happen. We need to get rid of him by first exposing him. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, you do realize if you do that, you'd be throwing the whole world into panic. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, I know, but I will deal with it, but right now you will do nothing to stop this. 𝓎𝓐𝓢 was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He looked at his staff for help, but they too were stuck. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, if this happens, they will outcast Izuku. He would be hated for what he possesses and be labeled a villain. People will be scared of him, but I think I can save him a bit. No doubt that his classmates would want him out of the class, and I can force them to cooperate, so it leaves me with one choice: back to the stage. Bakugo, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm about to tell you something that would either make you feel fear or hate. Random hero number 21. What is he talking about? Random hero number 22. I think I know what he's about to do. Kana, he wouldn't. Bakugo, do you people remember the man that brought Japan to its knees 14 years ago? The man that was so powerful. It took All Might's strongest attacks to bring him down. Many of the crowd remembered that day very well. Some lost their loved ones during that time. Bakugo, if you don't know who I'm talking about, this man goes by the name of his quirk. This man's name was the symbol of evil. This man was all for one. Once everyone heard that, they all got a shiver down their spines. Somewhere at an abandoned warehouse. Sensei, where is this brat going with this? Said a very large man who was very much in a suit and attached to medical equipment. Somewhere in an unknown bar. Shigaraki, what is he doing? Said a blue-haired man with a hand on his face. Somewhere in America. This doesn't feel right, said a mysterious person watching the live event of UA. The center of Tokyo in a building. Could it be? Said a woman with blonde hair watching the sports festival. Cut back to Bakugo, who was smiling like a madman. Someone from the crowd shouted. Someone from the crowd? But what does this mean? Bakugo, I'm glad you asked. Well, do you all know what his quirk is? Bakugo said while pointing at Izuku, who was really starting to wish he could kill Bakugo. Many of the crowd were silent because they knew the answer to that question, but they were too afraid to answer. Bakugo, judging by your facial expressions, you already know, but let me tell you what this villain has. Bakugo then looked directly at Izuku with a manic smile. Bakugo, his quirk is. Izuku, he wouldn't. Bakugo, all. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, stop. Bakugo, for. Sensei, don't do this. Bakugo, 1. Izuku, 𝓎𝓐𝓢, Sensei, no. Once Bakugo told the world what his quirk is, everyone was silent. No one moved. Everyone had held their breath. There was another all-for-one user. All Might got rid of the first one, but now there's another one right in front of them trying to be something he's not. Someone from the crowd said something they all collectively thought. Random asshole. He's a villain. Once that word came out, everyone started shouting villain. Some of the heroes even wanted to attack Izuku because of the death they faced when AFO was in power, but they were stopped by the speakers around the stadium. 𝓎𝓐𝓢, on speaker, if any one of you attacks my nephew, I will have all your heads. Everyone stopped after hearing that. They knew that 𝓎𝓐𝓢 wasn't lying because he had done it before, and he would do it again. But the most shocking thing that everyone heard was that Izuku Midoriya was 𝓎𝓐𝓢's nephew. Random fuck. But how can you have a villain as your nephew? 𝓎𝓐𝓢, speakers, because he didn't have this quirk for the past 14 years, since he was tested to be quirkless. Meaning he only recently awakened it. Random cunt. So you're telling us you've been harboring a quirkless, the lowest piece of scum on earth. Now the people were in an uproar. They had just learned that Izuku Midoriya was quirkless before he awakened such an evil quirk. Izuku was just standing there, looking at all the faces that only showed fear and hatred. He looked at his class and could see the hate in their eyes. Izuku, just like before, they all hate me, just because I'm different. Kana was disgusted by how the people were acting. 𝓎𝓡𝓚. These people, no, these animals, they are truly the worst of the worst. 𝓎𝓚. All right, everyone, calm down. I know you want to tear him apart, but why don't I do it for you? Random. What do you mean by that? 𝓎𝓚. What I mean is that he and I have a fight, no holds barred, anything goes, and when he loses, he gets to go to Tartarus for the rest of his worthless life. Many in the crowd were considering this. They could get rid of him and have him pay for the previous crimes the previous 𝓎𝓚 did, but they were cut off by 𝓎𝓚 speaking. 𝓎𝓚. And if I win, what do I get? 𝓎𝓚. Who said you're going to win? 𝓎𝓚. I said, if I do what you want, what do I get? Because I'm willing to fight you with no rules. Heck, I'll even let you have the first hit. 𝓎𝓚. And do you think I'd believe you? 𝓎𝓚. 𝓎𝓚. I have nothing left to lose. You've ruined me. I have nothing now. 𝓎𝓚 thought it over for a second. 𝓎𝓚. If he's telling the truth, then I could just end him in one big explosion. I don't care if OFA refuses to help me. I'll just force it out. 𝓎𝓚. All right, if you win, I'll do you one favor. It could be anything. No matter what it is, I'll do it. 𝓎𝓚. Deal. 𝓎𝓚 then turned to the booth Nizu is in and used sound manipulation to amplify his voice. 𝓎𝓚. Nizu, do you agree? Nizu looked at 𝓎𝓚 for a second. He could see that his eyes were tired. He really did lose everything, so with a sigh, Nizu allowed the match. Midnight and Cementos went back to the teacher's booth so they wouldn't get caught up in the fight, leaving 𝓎𝓚 and 𝓎𝓚 alone in the ring. The only sound there was the crowd shouting words of encouragement. Random shit. You can do it. Random fuck. Show him his place. Random ass. Fuck him up. 𝓎𝓚 was feeding off of the encouragement, growing his ego more and more while 𝓎𝓚 just looked at him with dead eyes. From the speakers. Begin. 𝓎𝓚 did not waste time and rushed 𝓎𝓚 with his explosions and started unloading explosion after explosion. The crowd was cheering like maniacs because 𝓎𝓚 was being bombarded with explosions that were creating a smokescreen. After a while, the sound of explosions stopped and 𝓎𝓚 came out flying with his explosions keeping him floating. But for some reason, there was blood on 𝓎𝓚's mouth, but he doesn't look like he was hurt anywhere, very odd. The smoke started clearing, and the people all around the world got to see what state 𝓎𝓚 was in. His entire upper body was showing missing pieces of flesh and muscle, showing tungsten bones. People started cheering, thinking that 𝓎𝓚 killed him. In the booth, Nizu, dear God, 𝓎𝓚, who was sobbing. 𝓎𝓚, my baby, somewhere in America. These people are fucked up. No kidding. In the center of Tokyo. No. That brat will pay, said the blonde woman. Somewhere in an abandoned warehouse. Sensei, I will surely make your death as painful as possible. In the stands. 𝓎𝓚, how could they celebrate something like murder? But the everyone's cheering was cut off because they heard a voice from the corpse. 𝓎𝓚, is that all you got? Everyone now had their eyes on the corpse, which was regenerating at a fast pace. Muscle covered the bones and soon skin, but that also showed everyone what could only be phrased as a scarred masterpiece. When his skin healed, it revealed scars that looked like they could have been fatal to anyone. But what caught their eyes was the writing that was burnt into his back. 𝓎𝓚, what did these monsters do to you? The word Deku was burned into his back. Some people threw up, but others cheered harder, saying he deserved those scars. Once 𝓎𝓚 fully healed, he could tell people were looking at his scared body. He then looked up at 𝓎𝓚, who was fuming. 𝓎𝓚, you forgot I can regenerate, didn't you? 𝓎𝓚, shut up. I'm gonna end you once and for all. 𝓎𝓚 flew up a few meters outside of the stadium and started flying down to 𝓎𝓚 while spinning at extreme speeds, using his explosions to make him spin faster, and then forced OFA at 100%, making his explosions burn a bright blue. In the one for all, we could see people running around frantically. Oh? How the fuck is he using it at 100%? Didn't we seal it? Said a bald guy who had goggles on his head and was wearing a leather jacket. I don't know, but he's somehow using it, said a female voice. This person was wearing a dark blue bodysuit and a waist cap. I think I know what he did, said a white-haired man who was wearing a white long-sleeve shirt and white pants. Baldy. Then how? White, he's using hatred. Female, how does that make any sense? White, he's using the hatred on the child to force OFA to give him power, but it won't last long. Baldy, but he's still gonna hit the kid. White, I know, and we can't do anything about it. All we can do is just hope he survives. Outside of OFA, Bakugo was nearing Izuku fast, but all Izuku did was stare at the massive blue cloud of explosions. Izuku, if that hits, he might take out everyone but me. Sigh, as much as I hate these people, I have to save them. Izuku raised his hand to Bakugo, seeming like he was about to attack, but when Bakugo was launching his attack, Bakugo, nuclear SSSSMMMMMASSSSSSHHHHH, the explosion was launched at him. It was big and blue with lightning arcing from it, but before it could hit anything, Izuku used spatial manipulation. Izuku, spatial technique, pitch, maximum spatial energy output. Black. Izuku creates a center of gravity in a specific space capable of attracting all matter, sucking it all in. The explosion gets sucked into the black hole until there is nothing left. This shocks everyone, including Bakugo, who is now lying on the ground, coughing up lots of blood. Bakugo, I can't move. What's happening to me? Bakugo started hearing footsteps approaching him, so he looked in that direction just to be met with a kick to the face. Izuku, that could have ended badly, you know? If I hadn't destroyed it, you could have killed everyone here, but you didn't care about that. All you cared about was killing me, but it backfired on you. Izuku grabbed Bakugo by the hair and lifted him up to look at him in the eyes. Izuku, looks like I win. Do remember when I come for that favor. Izuku then punched Bakugo in the gut, where black and red lightning sparked and made him cough out more blood, and he got sent flying into the wall, making him the winner. Izuku looked at his fist. Izuku, what is this lighting? Everyone was silent. They couldn't believe what just happened. The villain won. 𝓢 from the speakers. Izuku Midoriya has won the match, making him the winner of the sports festival. That snapped everyone out of their stunned state and started booing Izuku, but he didn't stay to hear it. He opened a warp gate directly to 𝓢. When he got there, he saw the rest of the staff there along with unexpected guests, the Bakugos and All Might. Izuku, Uncle, we need to talk. 𝓢, I already know what you're going to ask me, and I'm already on it. Izuku, good, Mom, let's go. Izuku then opened another warp gate to 𝓢's office. 𝓢, Midnight, Recovery Girl, you wrap up everything here. Midnight and Recovery Girl nodded, and 𝓢, Izuku, and Inko left through the portal. When they arrived at the office, they all took seats on the sofas that were there and just slumped into them. 𝓢, that was an exhausting day. Inko, no kidding. Izuku, to think he would do such a thing, now everyone hates me. Again, Inko gave Izuku a hug. Inko, don't worry, sweetie. We'll get through this together. 𝓢, she's right, you know. I'll do everything I can to try and sort this out. But there's one thing I've already done. Izuku, you're no longer in Class 1A. You'll become my student because I'm sure you know that the class, or better yet the students, won't be so accepting of you being here. Izuku, I know, but I don't care about them anymore. They turned their backs on me. 𝓢, that is sadly true. They spent the rest of the day in 𝓢's office while the rest wrapped up the sports festival. 2 days have passed after the sports festival. Many people are still in an uproar about Izuku Midoriya, but 𝓢 managed to back them off. 𝓢 made the announcement that Izuku will no longer be in Class 1A, much to the class's delight, but now it left an opening that was filled by Hitoshi Shinso via Aizawa's request. But now people are scared of Izuku knowing he could take their quirks, which made him an outcast, but he didn't mind since he was used to it. Now since Izuku is 𝓢's student now, he would be having classes with him in his office, but he wouldn't be teaching. 𝓢 would be allowing Izuku to act as his second in command, so his uniform was different from the original. His uniform was black instead of gray. During that time, he managed to also copy Aizawa's quirk. Erasure copied. Erasure evolved. Power erasure. We now see Izuku with 𝓢 discussing the internships. Izuku, I doubt I got any invites. Everyone who's seen my face or known my name thinks I'm a villain. 𝓢, I know you'd be surprised who actually is interested in your talent. 𝓢𝓐𝓡 says, handling 𝓎𝓐𝓡 a piece of paper with one word on it. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, 𝓤𝓐𝓡. That's right, she sent an invite after the sports festival. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, you know I would be excited about this, but knowing she works for HSBC, it's unnerving. 𝓢𝓐𝓡, I know how you feel, but you could use this to your advantage. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, how? 𝓢𝓐𝓡, information, you know the commission is not clean in any sense of the matter, and I know the only reason they want you is because they want to control you, but they wouldn't suspect you spying on them. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, that does sound like a good idea, but isn't that risky? 𝓢𝓐𝓡, it is, but high rewards call for high risks. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, I hate how you're right, but fine, I'll do it. 𝓢𝓐𝓡, excellent, but we're only missing one thing. 𝓎𝓐𝓡, and what's that? 𝓢𝓐𝓡, your hero name, of course, since you're going to be interning with one, you're going to need a hero name to go by. Any suggestions? 𝓎𝓐𝓡, yeah, I got one. 𝓢𝓐𝓡, and that is? 𝓎𝓐𝓡, taken/copied quirks. Command inducement. The user can command other beings by giving them orders to do their bidding no matter what the victim thinks or feels. Passive ability. Gives the user immunity to mind-related attacks. Hellfire manipulation. The user can generate and manipulate the cursed flames of hell. Power erasure. The user can eliminate/remove the supernatural powers of others, so they won't have access to them until the user deems it.